production of diapers.
Being so good, they would absolutely challenge the status quo of the auto industry, of the oil industry.
Chris Payne's documentary says that General Motors never really believed in the EV1 and didn't promote its clean, green advantages. In effect, it murdered its own baby.
We made every effort to make a business out of the EV1. We don't spend in excess of $1 billion to set a vehicle up for failure.
Dave Barthmas is manager of public relations at General Motors and says that far from a conspiracy to kill off the electric car, there was simply no mass market for it.
You could only go roughly 100 miles or so before you had to recharge it, and then it took roughly 4 to 8 hours to recharge the vehicle. And for something like that to work for a mass market, you really had to adapt your lifestyle to meet the needs of the vehicle versus a vehicle that's going to meet your needs.
But according to Chelsea Sexton, General Motors was just not committed to making the electric car a success.
In my experience, to sell a car with an ad, you need to show a picture of the car in the ad, tell people where to go to see it, some little facts about the car, that sort of thing helps when you're trying to sell a product. And that stuff was just gone from the advertising. So, yeah, certainly we got indications along the way that they weren't as sincere about this as they'd have people believe.
In the film, people who were working for GM even said that they felt after a year or so that the heart wasn't in GM to continue on with this. They felt it. They weren't getting the support. They weren't getting the advertising or the marketing of it. It was as if you were forced into by the government to do this.
Well, I tell you, there are a lot of emotions within General Motors about the EV1, certainly. It was not an easy decision for us to come to end production and marketing. It was not easy for us to spend well over $1 billion and not recoup our investment. It wasn't easy for us to develop award-winning advertising, set up a unique sales and service force, to have a vehicle that ultimately only generated 800 leases. So in essence, we did everything that we could to grow the market in California, no matter how disappointed and angry some people are over our decision to end production and marketing. There are simply two sides to every story.
Documentary maker Chris Payne concedes that the number of miles in a battery charge was a problem for the EV1 sales.
And a lot of consumers said, no, I don't want a car that only goes 100 miles on a charge. I need something that goes 300 miles on a charge. I have a long way to drive. Well, it turns out that most people, especially commuters, but the national average in the States is even everybody, the average miles that you drive a day is 30. So a car that can go 60 miles or 100 miles a day really can work as a perfect second car. In my case, it became like the primary car, very fast. And then you have that gas car for those rare times you really do need the range.
While new and better batteries are in the pipeline, GM says there's still a long way to go.
I have not seen an auto company come out with a battery program that has a vehicle that will have the kind of range and quick charge that's needed to appeal to a mass market at a price point where the common man and woman can afford it on a monthly basis.
Electric car enthusiasts scoff at the affordability arguments. They point out that at the same time the EV1 was dropped, GM was busy promoting the most expensive and biggest gas guzzler of them all, the Hummer.
I know that there are charges made that we kill the electric vehicle program in order to create the Hummer or be able to afford and pursue the Hummer program. Again, there is no conspiracy to cut off the electric vehicle because we wanted to pursue heavier, larger vehicles. People did not demand the EV1 from GM in large enough numbers for us to pursue it.
The Hummer was the ultimate SUV. And in fact, when it came out, you could get up to a $100,000 tax deduction if you were a small business owner for owning one. So the government gave a message to people. The message was, buy these huge monstrosities. Meanwhile, the electric car, when they were on the road, the maximum tax credit you could get was $4,000. So this is how government shapes the future. And unfortunately, the American government was pushing Hummers, and no wonder in some ways the car companies walked away from EVs and concentrated on these Hummers.
For the electric car activists like Linda Nichols, the battle is not over, even though the dream of the EV1 has been lost. The final nail in the coffin came in 2004, when GM trucked away the last of the EV1s to be crushed. Linda and other activists managed to save their cars from the shredder.
This picture was taken in Arizona at GM's Proving Grounds. What you see here is the crusher actively involved in flattening these beautiful little EV1s that are stacked up like so many cords of wood, flattened into useless Coke cans and shredded into a million pieces. These EV1 cars represented a reality that was working and that can work again and needs to work again and will work again. These cars are not dead. Electric cars are just temporarily unavailable. The dream is still alive.
Why did you then recall all the cars and crush them?
Yep.
Why did you do this?
Well, first, now that we did not recall the vehicles early. Everybody signed a 3-year lease agreement and agreed to what was going to happen at the end of the 3 years as far as turning the vehicle back into General Motors. Yes, the other half of the coin is those vehicles were then sent to the recycler. Now, part of the recycling process involves crushing the stripped body so that it can be shredded and all the various metals could be separated for recycling use. Now, the reason that we did not want to leave the vehicle in the hands of owners after the lease expiration is because we did not have a significant amount of parts to keep the vehicles running safe. There are 2,000...
So you'd made up your mind at this stage you weren't going to make a spare parts division for that car?
We simply did not have enough parts to keep those vehicles on the road going in a safe manner. We felt it wasn't it was not the right thing to do to allow a vehicle to be left in someone's hands that we didn't have the confidence we needed to know that it would be operated in a safe manner.
The idea of a car maker producing a new model without spare parts sounds almost as implausible as the policy that allowed new cars to be destroyed. In Chris Payne's documentary, a reporter happened across some Honda electric cars just as they were about to be shredded.
And what's interesting, the first thing we noticed when we drove up here, you're going to be shredding some new cars here too. These look like perfectly good cars. Why are you shredding them up?
A little bit of a mystery, really, since I've been here the last 8 years. They bring us these cars from the dealerships, and they say that they're test cars, and they've been brought over to